Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Curse of Oak Island. Team asks if Templar Knights and Vikings both built 13th century structures on island. The Curse of Oak Island team learned that 3 stone monuments on the island were built in the 13th century, and the likely builders were the Templar Knights. In another twist on this theory, a chance find of an artifact left the team wondering if the Knights had help from the Vikings. Last week, the Lagina brothers asked archaeoastronomer Professor Adriano Bespani to follow up his previous work on Nolan's Cross by examining 2 more stone monuments. Bespani examined the positioning of the stone cairns on Lot 15 and the stone triangle on the southern beach, and confirmed they were built in alignment with the stars, moon, and sun. The professor declared that he was 100% sure the stone cairns were built in 1250 AD, and last year he claimed Nolan's Cross was constructed in 1200 AD. Bespani said that the know-how to create these structures could only come from someone with a knowledge of navigation, astronomy, and geometry. The builders created these codified stone monuments to act as pointers for only a select few. Only the Templar Knights would have the ability to build such structures on 13th century Oak Island. The academic further argued that such know-how would only exist at that time amongst religious, monastic, or knightly orders, and at that time in the 13th century, the Order of the Templar Knights was the most powerful. Following on for the professor's work, the guys sent in Gary Drayton to check the area around the stone cairns for metal artifacts. Gary found a lead strip that looked to be decorated, one he suspected was medieval. This artifact was handed over to archaeometallurgist Emma Culligan to ascertain its chemical composition and determine if it matched any other artifacts from the island. Unfortunately, this led to more questions than answers. The piece in question resembled another twisted lead artifact previously unearthed on Lot 13. That artifact was determined to have originally come from Scandinavia, so Gary, having been sent to look for Templar artifacts, may have found a Viking one instead. Oak Island historian Doug Crowell pointed out that the only group of Europeans that are known to have definitely traveled to America before Columbus were the Vikings. They sailed there around the time the Templars were at their most powerful during the 13th century. Perhaps they knew each other, suggested Doug, implying there may have been a collaboration between the 2 medieval groups. Oak Island team excavated the tunnel at the bottom of the garden shaft. Also, on last night's show, the guys finally uncovered the tunnel at the bottom of the garden shaft. They unearthed a series of wooden rounded beams of differing sizes. These beams appeared to be cut by hand, meaning they were likely older than the 19th century when mechanical tools for cutting wood became the norm. Roger Fortin estimated the tunnel was about 5 feet wide. The team will get this wood tested to find out exactly what time period it came from, but they are pretty sure it is original depositor work. They are increasingly hopeful that a vast treasure lies at the end of this tunnel. As the sun rose over the windswept shores of Oak Island, a golden glow bathed the rugged terrain in a veil of mystery. For centuries, this unassuming patch of land in Nova Scotia has been the focus of legends, myths, and tantalizing rumors about treasures hidden deep beneath its soil. And now, after years of digging, drilling, and puzzling over ancient clues, the Lagina brothers and their dedicated team found themselves grappling with an even more confounding question. Could both the Templar Knights and Vikings have been involved in the construction of 13th century structures on this enigmatic island? Rick Lagina, ever the thoughtful dreamer, stood by the edge of the money pit. His eyes traced the outlines of the various dig sites, but his mind was thousands of years away, lost in the fog of history. It just doesn't add up, he mused aloud, his voice tinged with wonder. 2 entirely different groups, separated by oceans and centuries, yet here we are, finding evidence that points to both. His brother Marty, ever the pragmatist, joined him. It's crazy, Rick, but not impossible. We've seen Viking artifacts popping up further south in North America, and the Templars, well, Their secretive nature makes it hard to rule out anything. Indeed, the island seemed to pulse with a mysterious energy that had long resisted explanation. From strange inscriptions and the peculiar swamp to the rumored treasure troves, Oak Island was no stranger to strange tales. But this new theory? It was almost too wild to believe. Yet, as the team unearthed more clues, it became harder to dismiss the idea that both the Templars and Vikings might have left their marks here, together or perhaps separately, but during the same time frame. That morning, archaeologist Laird Niven called the team to a new discovery site on the island. "You're going to want to see this," he said, brushing off the dirt from a large stone slab. Carved into the rock was a series of runes, distinctly Norse, unmistakably Viking. They had seen similar symbols in earlier digs, but this one was different. It looked deliberate, almost ceremonial. Surrounding it were markings that didn't quite fit with Viking script. "These runes," Laird explained, "look like they were part of a larger structure, possibly a foundation of some kind. But here's the strange part." He knelt down, pointing to another set of carvings on the adjacent stones. "This symbol, it's a cross, but not just any cross. It's associated with the Templar Knights." Silence hung in the air as the team stared at the two sets of markings, side by side, yet from two vastly different cultures. The runes, crude but effective, were the calling card of Norse explorers. The cross, delicate and precise, whispered of the secretive order of warrior monks who were rumored to have fled Europe with vast treasures in tow, including possibly the Holy Grail. Gary Drayton, the metal detecting expert, couldn't contain his excitement. "Blimey, this is what we've been waiting for, mates. If we got proof of both Vikings and Templars on this island, that changes everything." Alex Lagina, Marty's son and a key member of the team, chimed in. "But why would they both be here, and why around the same time? It doesn't make any sense." Historian Doug Crowell flipped through his well-worn notebook, cross-referencing dates and theories that had been swirling in his mind for years. "It's possible," he began, "that the Vikings may have been here first. We know they reached North America around the 11th century. By the 13th century, they could have established outposts along the coast, trading, exploring, or even settling in small numbers. Now, the Templars. They were said to have fled Europe after the persecution of their order in the early 1300s, and there are theories they sought refuge in far-off lands. If Oak Island was a known point for exploration or refuge, they may have followed old Viking routes to get here." Marty raised an eyebrow. "You're suggesting that Oak Island could have been some kind of waypoint for both groups? That the Vikings may have left behind structures, and centuries later, the Templars found and reproposed them?" Doug nodded thoughtfully. "It's a long shot, but the evidence is mounting. We've got the lead cross, Viking axes, and now these symbols. It's becoming harder to ignore the connection." The team gathered around the large map in the war room later that evening, plotting out the areas where the most significant finds had been made. The swamp, the money pit, Smith's Cove, all seemed to be linked by a mysterious network of tunnels and structures. But now, with this new discovery, they had to rethink the entire layout of the island. Could the underground tunnels have been originally constructed by Vikings and later modified by the Templars to hide their treasure? Rick, ever the romantic historian, couldn't help but wonder aloud. If the Vikings and Templars were both here,